Let's get going. Welcome everybody to the third webinar in the spring series. Tonight we're going to be talking about the product value, the EyeStream product value as it relates to sales and getting customers on board. The quick thing here is we're going to go through this particular agenda. We're going to talk about more of the webinar series. I'm really excited about next week's. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this spring series has about 8 seminars in there, and so I'm looking forward to each and every one of them. We're going to have them on Monday night at 8 p.m. Tonight, like I said, we're talking about the value of the EyeStream product. So for tonight, this is what I'm going to go over. The value of the EyeStream TV product really involves what the product solution is. So I'm going to give you a lot of detail about the product, and I'm going to share my knowledge about how it's relevant to the customer. We're going to talk about some of the requirements of EyeStream TV. Many of you know that already, but I'm going to put it into relevance when it comes to the actual home environment and what you want to do when you're talking to potential customers. We're going to talk a little bit about the total cost of cable. Probably all of us have cable accounts with the local provider, the local monopoly provider that takes a lot of your money and delivers little in terms of service and content. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the savings and what the actual value of the EyeStream product is. You might be surprised when you price it out for every one of these packages that are in there. We're going to talk about the benefits of EyeStream TV, okay, when it comes to, you know, the video content, the ability to have multiple locations, and really what the future is, and that's personalization of your TV viewing. There are some limitations. We're going to go through them when it comes to streaming. They're not specific to EyeStream. They're specific to the industry. I just want to make sure people are aware of what they are and how to manage them. I'm going to kind of conclude here a little bit and talk a little bit about demographics, because depending on who the customer is or the prospect is, it does matter what age bracket they're in. This is a technology product. Even though it's simple, a lot of people adopt it very easily. Some people can't adopt it, and it becomes a barrier to sale. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the demographics. And then lastly, I'm going to conclude with what the real future is. And that's really a la carte, whether it's TV, video on demand. There's going to be all kinds of things coming out to capture the consumer dollar. And so I'm going to go through that as well. So the first thing I wanted to cover really is, what is the EyeStream product, okay? So when it comes to total channels, currently right now we have about 775, 780 channels. And there's really not a limit to how many channels we can bring in. And if you've been around streaming TV for a while, you'll know that some people offer 1,500, some people offer 6,000. I've seen some up around 8,000. And really, what the difference is between what EyeStream has and what all these other companies are offering is basically every time they roll a country in, they duplicate a lot of the network channels and the premium channels, that sort of thing, because it's localized to the language, the country, whatever. So what you need to know about the 775 channels is it covers, I'm going to say, the majority of the U.S. market. I know there's some Philippines in there, and there's some Spanish speaking in there. There'll probably be a lot more as we expand into these specific markets. But you need to know that you have the majority of the channels for the U.S. market, and that's where we're launching the EyeStream business. So that you should feel good about that. You know, if you've been around the product a while, you'll notice that it's basically domestic. There is some international content in there when it comes to language and countries. As I said, they break everything out into categories. I think it's a great way to be able to navigate the product. But the one thing that most people don't understand is really there's the ability for user profiles. And so, you know, within the household, if you will, within the account, you know, people have the ability to personalize their own TV viewing by creating their own personal profile. And if, as people selling the product, I would recommend that you go out and put in a profile and make sure you understand what that is, because that makes it easier for people in the same household to have their own personalized TV. We do have the premium channels. Okay, these are really kind of the movie channels, if you will, like Star, Showtime, HBO, Epic, Cinemax. I'm sure I'm missing a few. Great value, people. This, if you were to price these out individually, you'd be shocked how much it would cost, whether it's individual or bundled. There's a lot of money in these premium channels, and so don't overlook that. A lot of people don't use the music channels. They're out there as well. I know I set background music a lot when I'm just in the living area, and so I use the TV for music. And you know that it's really got a great product when it comes to the kids channels. And so you want to understand some of these premium channels. It's going to get more and more divided as more competition comes into the streaming space. Sports, given the coronavirus, it's in sports in general has been shut down. It has taken away probably our biggest weapon in selling this product. But with the sports, you know, you have got pretty much around the globe sports available to you through streaming TV. I think it's a huge value. It really, during the summer and fall when all the major sports are going, it allows people to watch any game anywhere at any time. And people pay a lot of money for these. You know, ESPN has been built into cable, but when you go into these like NHL Center Ice or, you know, NFL Game Day, people pay hundreds of dollars an annual subscription for these. And so when you look at them in terms of the total value of the EyeStream product, it goes up very quickly. Also, you know, they use technology, have the ability to do quad screens. This is something that, you know, during football season or during some of the intense sports season, people who like to watch it, this is a big benefit, big technology benefit. So sports is huge. Pay-per-view, okay, if you utilize this, this is can be huge. It can be upwards to, you know, $300 or $400 a month just for pay-per-view if you use that service. But we have all of those, you know, title fight events, concerts, major sporting events, all on that come through pay-per-view. Big value there. So you need to understand that, and it's all going to fit into what the future of TV is, and that's really a la carte. So this is where people are going to personalize their viewing pleasure. They're going to have favorites for whatever channels they want to watch. I know myself personally, I have a favorite lineup of about 15 channels, and all I go is I use my favorites category probably 80% of the time when I'm watching TV. It just makes it very convenient to watch go to the channels that I like to watch. But as this continues to expand beyond streaming live TV, you know, people use it today currently for like video on demand. So if you have a Netflix account, a Prime account, there's several others. They're going to be, it's part of the a la carte personalization. If you want to subscribe to some of these network channels that have weekly serials that you want to watch, they're going to be available for purchase as well, like whether it's CBS or NBC or any one of these other channels. That's how they're differentiating themselves from the competition, is by their local content, their local programming specific to their channel. So there is a lot of things that are going to happen in this industry over the next 4 to 5 years. Let's talk a little bit about the streaming TV requirement, because I think that this is a little bit misunderstood. Now, people that have been listening to the conference calls and webinars that have been held, a lot of, you know, you'll hear Josh talk about the fact that you need to have 50 megabits per second to stream the EyeStream product. and he's absolutely correct. In order to have a flawless, you really want to have that amount of speed. But within the household environment, and I want to get people thinking on a bigger term, because this will determine the customer experience. Within the household, it does depend on how many people are in the household, how many devices are being used at any given time. So if you have a household with 3 or 4 family members in it, there may be as many as 6 or 8 devices being run at any given time between phones and tablets and TVs. And who knows who's siphoning off bandwidth from neighbors and things like that. So yes, we need 50 megabits per second to run EyeStream, but the reality is the household environment really needs to be well above 100 megabits to really have a positive or pleasing streaming TV experience. Cable modems come into effect here, whether people own or rent. Let me tell you a little something about if you rent your hardware. There's pros and cons to renting versus owning, and it's really your personal choice. I think if you look at the total cost, it's kind of a wash. You do pay a lot more for renting it up front, but the way technology is changing so fast and the speed of the internet is changing so fast, it's very possible that if you buy your own cable modem, it will become obsolete in the next 2 to 3 years, and you'd have to go out and rebuy it again. You still may be ahead of it, but when you look at warranties and failures and all of that, sometimes it's better to rent. The negative side of renting is that the central office of your cable company can throttle the amount of throughput your cable uses, your internet uses at your household. So during peak times, where it may be Saturdays or it could be evenings where people are home, they're using their home office, they're using their TVs and phones to communicate through the internet. The cable companies have to throttle back the capacity at each household. And so even though you have 100 megabits, you may only be getting 50 at any given time. That will change your viewing experience on TV. So if you find yourself buffering or looping, not looping, but buffering or freezing from time to time, it could very well be what the cable companies are allowing for throughput. If you rent, they have that capability. If you own, they don't. So that's something you need to consider. So you really need to understand the home internet environment. I'm going to go into that more and more as we get into this deeper. The Wi-Fi signal, okay, in order to have a good viewing experience, the Wi-Fi signal needs to be set up so that it reaches all aspects of the house. I usually view it, I usually talk in terms of TV sets, but it could be on tablets or phones. If you're using and streaming your TV and you're in a remote location of the house, the Wi-Fi could actually just not be very good in that location, in which case your viewing experience is not going to be very good. So the Wi-Fi setup is going to be important. And again, we're talking about, the ability to rent or buy the router, and or I'm going to include extenders, okay? Because if you have a big home, you really need to consider investing in some extenders so that you have strong signal throughout the household. And you need to know the kinds of devices that are connecting to the Wi-Fi or the internet. The older devices just aren't going to perform as good. And so whether it comes to TVs, tablets, or even phones for that matter, you're going to need to make sure that people, have relatively new equipment. The streaming device is very important. Okay, we're learning more and more about this. And the one thing I'm going to teach people about the customer experience is setting their expectation is going to be key to having them have a positive experience, or at least an experience that they're willing to recommend the service to other people. Streaming equipment, everybody's been talking Fire Sticks. It's an entry-level streaming device. It's highly rated. Um, I know that it has changed generations here in the last um, several months. And so the older generations just don't have the capacity that the new 4K Fire Sticks have. And it wouldn't surprise me if they come out with another generation Fire Stick here very quickly, just one that's a little bit more robust, so that, you know, the things that happen when you're streaming, whether it be tying up memory, which impacts performance. You know, we talk about clearing out the cache of your Fire Stick. If you have an old style Fire Stick, you not only do you need to strip it down of all of its apps so that you get it running efficiently, you also need to maintenance it more often so that you clear the cache out. And sometimes it may be more than just once a week. You may need to do it 2 or 3 times. I've noticed that the 4K Fire Stick, you still need to clear the cache out, especially some of these things. But in order to have the best viewing experience with Fire Sticks, you really need to strip out a lot of the apps that are preloaded on there that probably people aren't going to use, that do nothing but slow it down, use up its capacity. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to manage Fire Sticks. But there are other streaming devices that, when you're talking to your customers, if they're going to go out and buy, or they're going to go out and invest in a streaming device, we may want to point them away from the Fire Stick and into a medium range or high end streaming device for their main TV. And then if they have a lot of other TVs that maybe are not used as much, load them up maybe with Fire Sticks, which won't have as good performance, but it'll be acceptable. So streaming equipment's important. I talked about the devices. I'm not going to go back and talk about them again. But the other thing we need to understand is, depending on the equipment, it will always matter how you maintenance the equipment, from rebooting the modem, the router, clearing out the cache, actually even rebooting the Fire Sticks and other streaming devices. It's always smart to unplug them and let them reset at least once a week or more often. But once a week, once every other week, it's going to just help the overall performance of the streaming. Let's talk a little bit about cost. Okay, the cost of cable TV has been huge, guys. The internet is really been set up as part of a cable package. The internet is the core of your cable TV now. Cable companies, I work as a direct dealer. Cable companies know that their business is changing and changing dramatically. The internet, the cable companies will tell you they're internet companies now. They're not video companies, and they're not phone companies anymore. People are moving away from them very rapidly. And so there are people out there that just order cable right now, but there are so many people out there that have cable bundles. Cable bundles are internet video, or phone. And so when they enter into these cable bundles, they do it in such a way that it's either a 1 or 2 year contract to get promo pricing, very advantageous pricing. In my world, that pricing is about 40% off of the retail price that a customer will pay. And so these customers, they think they're locked into these contracts for, whatever that period of time is, 1 or 2 years. In fact, they're not. Okay, as long as they maintain service, they are not going to end up with these termination costs. Usually, it's how many months are left on the contract times X dollars per month. But if you're talking to someone about EyeStream TV, rest assured, if they say, well, I just signed up with a cable bundle and it's good for 2 years, so I can't talk to you for 2 years, that is not true. They just don't know it. Okay, what they can do is they can call their cable company, downgrade their service to internet only, not pay the termination fees, and be able to go into streaming and save money. The only downfall of that is going to be the fact that they'll probably pay retail for their internet if they do that. But between retail for internet and the cost savings of EyeStream TV, customers still far ahead. That's what I've done for my household, just so you know, and I'm still far ahead of my costs. So the video packages are basically coming to a grinding halt. Within 2 to 3 years, your cable company probably will give you devices to assist you in a la carte TV. Okay, much like the streaming device you have for Fire Stick or something like that. And voice over internet phone is really pretty much gone. They still try to sell it, but that's where the demographics come in. The older people will continue to have a phone number that their friends and family know, and they want to keep it. So the cable companies prey on that. But the equipment cost is where there's a lot of money. People will spend anywhere from $25 to $50 and up just on equipment rental. Now I'm talking things like the modem router for cable companies. They'll charge $14 for each unit that you have. They have their cable boxes and their TV adapters are anywhere from, their main box can be $12 to $15, and the TV adapters for the remote TVs will be $7 or $8. These devices add up quickly, especially if you have a household with lots of TVs. They will also charge for DVRs, and usually, like I said, the monthly cost of all of these devices on a cable bill is a hidden $25 to $50 or more. There are fees and taxes, and now this is one of the cases where we need to know this for streaming TV, because very deceptively the cable companies have separated out certain charges when it comes to cable TV. Specifically, it's broadcast charges, there's regional sports charges. These a la carte charges will add up to almost $30 a month. And that's only if you have a TV package with them. So you want to be aware of that, this line item on a cable bill, because it goes away when people elect to cut the cord and go streaming TV. What are we talking about on a total bill? I do service a lot of customers, so I do know that the average cable bill for someone who's not paying attention, who has not cut the cord, has kind of right-sized their viewing and internet, is somewhere between $175 and $250. That's what an average monthly bill is. That's not with a lot of the premium channels. That's definitely not with pay-per-view. It doesn't have any of the sports packages and things like that. If they were to add all of those things on, which is what our product has, a customer would probably have a cable bill somewhere in the vicinity of $400 to $500 a month or higher. So when we start comparing the cost of cable TV with streaming versus a cable package, we do quote savings off of that $175 to $250. Most people will say $50 to $125 a month just by having internet only in their house and ordering streaming TV through EyeStream. That's what their savings will be. Most times it's going to be north of $50, and I a lot of times save people over $100. So that's the realized savings. But there's more to it, because when you compare apples to apples, customers are getting a lot more content for less money. So should they use all the services that EyeStream has, it could be savings of $300 to $400 a month. The benefits of them, we just talked about savings, $50 to $125 a month. The beautiful part of this is there's no contracts, no termination fees. It's a very simple arrangement with us. The subscription fee is $39.99 per month, $42 with tax. But the beautiful part is we get with five referrals, we're able to even reduce that cost down to $0. And I make sure I tell my customers that we're going to start you out at $40 a month. But if you're willing to work with me, share this opportunity, this service with other people, I will gladly set up 5 customers for you so that you get your service for free. People are very receptive to that, especially if they have a positive first experience with the product. When I'm talking to people, I am talking to them more content for less money. When we get into demographics, you're going to see why. The personalization we talked about, a la carte, personal user profiles. Mobile TV is a huge benefit. People don't really stress this. The younger people are always on their phones, always on their mobile devices like tablets. Being able to access TV on the go is a new phenomenon, okay, that people need to be told about, because whether you're commuting to work, whether you're have a second home, another property, or you're traveling, your business, your work makes you travel, you can take your TV account with you wherever you go. And there is a ton of value. It's somewhat of a differentiator when it comes to cable, and so you want to be able to stress that. I know a lot of people are saving a lot of money on the fact that they can have one account with EyeStream, and that will service their current home, their vacation home. It could be anything that they do when they're on the road, and so there's even more value for the customer there. And we did talk about free TV. The limitations, okay, depending on the age bracket, over the past 10 years, people have become reliant on their DVRs. They want to avoid advertising and things like that, so they will record their shows, watch it at their leisure, cut out the advertising, and that became a way of watching TV. We really can't compete against that, other than to tell them part of the a la carte experience is you don't need to use a DVR anymore. You can subscribe to the network that is running the shows that you want, and you can watch them on demand the next day without a DVR. So when people are putting up objections about, I record all my programming so I can watch it when I want, the recourse to that is, why don't you do this? Save a lot of money, spend $5 and subscribe to whatever that network is that runs the show you want to watch, and you can watch it pretty much whenever. So our ability to record is not, it's a disadvantage. It's a limiting factor, but it's not something we can't overcome. Local TVs, okay, there are a lot of, especially in rural areas, there's a lot of localized, maybe a town or a city has a TV channel that carries the local news and has local interest, and it's not part of our streaming package today. The best solution to that is just to get a high def antenna. You can get a high def antenna for, $20, $25 all the way up to $75. And what they do is they have really good range, 50 to 200 miles, and you can pretty much pull in all these local channels. They work fine. It's part of that a la carte that I'm talking about. So local TVs, if we can't pick them up and bring them into the station, Josh has been pretty good about that. But if we can't, the option is a high def antenna. Equipment, you need to have more modern equipment, okay? Certain areas, when we're talking to potential customers, if they're in rural areas, depending on who their internet service provider is, you need to understand this. The internet just may not be there. The area that you're talking to people may be in, there's some places that have old technology like DSL technology that gets 25 megabits per second, or maybe 50 if they amplify it. They're just not good candidates for streaming TV until the internet becomes faster. So you need to know the area internet capability. We'll talk about that next week when we talk about customer management. You need to make sure people understand that they need to get the latest equipment. What cable companies will do is they'll set up a household, and as the customer wants to upgrade their service, maybe faster internet or whatever, the cable companies don't offer them to upgrade their equipment or swap out their equipment for the latest. You need to make sure you tell your customers that it's a free service. They doesn't charge them anything. They can basically unplug the equipment, take it to a local store, swap it out for free, and just bring back the latest equipment that can handle the higher internet speeds or things like that. That will make a difference in the viewing pleasure. So equipment is important there. Yes, we need to have the latest TVs. We need TVs with HDMI connections so that they can run streaming devices, that sort of thing. So you just need to be aware of the equipment. If people have older equipments, when you get into the older demographics, they're not used to going out and buying TVs for the latest and greatest. You may run into equipment problems. There really aren't too many restrictions on streaming devices. I know Roku we can't use. There's probably others. I'm not going to get in there, but if you stick to the core streaming devices that we have, you'll be okay. The only other thing that's worth mentioning here, we are struggling a little bit with the Apple app. As of right now, we don't have an EyeStream app within the Apple store. So I don't know when this is going to happen, but you need to be aware of Apple equipment as it comes to streaming TV. Let's talk a little bit about demographics. And I put up 4 demographics here. Baby boomers age 55 to 75 by far are great targets. They just have special needs, okay? First of all, streaming is a great product for them because they live on fixed income. TV, like it or not, is a high percentage of their entertainment. They're probably watching anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of TV over the course of a day. So what we're bringing to them is more content for less money. That's a win-win for them. And especially if you talk to them about free TV, if they have a positive experience, they will definitely share it with their friends and family because of just the value of it. The downside to them is they're not very fluent in technology. You're going to have to spend more time with them, educate on you're going to have to assist in the setup a lot, and you're going to have to educate them on how to navigate streaming TV using a streaming device. I've had a lot of success with that. It just takes a little bit of time. I use technology like Zoom to educate people on how to do that. We're going to have to come out with some videos that we're going to be able to send to these people so that they can really learn themselves or refresh their memories as they go forward. Generation X is the target, okay? Generation X are the people who are 39 to 54. They're raising their family. They have multiple devices in their homes. They probably have a vacation home or they have some sort of vacation set up somewhere. They have the highest cable bills on average. They're probably in excess of 200 because of the number of apps or the number of services that they've had to buy for whether it's kids or it could be sports or it could be they're ordering all special things depending on what their family requirements are. We can save them a lot of money. Cost reductions of 50 to 220 a month are pretty standard. The only thing you need to be cautioned about when you go into an account like this, if they don't stream, that they're going to probably require 4 or 5 streaming devices to get their household set up. And so that needs to be planned out ahead of time. The other thing about Generation X is they really need to have high level of internet in today's world. And I'm not talking 100, I'm talking 200, 300, 500 megabits per second. And the reason is they will be throttled just like any other customer when peak times happen. They also could very easily have 8 to 10 devices consuming internet bandwidth at any given time within their household between TVs and, more importantly, phones and tablets and computers are all vying for the same speed. So when you're talking to a household of users, you want to make sure that they know that they have to have a big enough bandwidth to handle streaming. Generation Y, which is 24 to 38, good chance that they are using streaming services now. It may not be live streaming TV. They may not have cut the cord, but I can almost guarantee you that they're using video on demand like Netflix or Prime or other things like that for watching movies. They tend to be the ones that are starting to get into the gaming world. Okay, they have kids that are doing gaming or they're doing gaming. So internet speed's important, upload speed's important. Upload doesn't impact us, but you need to be aware of that. And so what we're offering them is more live TV than anything else. They generally know streaming. If you get someone that likes to watch sports or some part of our package, you're going to have a great customer. And Generation Z, the school, the jury's not out on them yet. Those are 4 to 23-year-olds. Basically, they're on their phone, they're gaming, and they really haven't spent a whole lot of time, standardizing what their TV viewing, especially when it comes to live TV, pleasure is. Okay, so a la carte, I'm coming in for a landing here. A la carte TV is the future, guys. Just understand streaming is a piece of the puzzle, okay? We're gonna have multiple vendors. This whole industry is going to constantly change over the next 3 to 5 years. Players like Apple, Disney, Hulu, Vudu coming in, YouTube's going to be there, HBO, all the major networks are going to be coming in. They're going to be offering up a product for a subscription. People are going to be able to do it whatever they want. Just understand, if we do our job correctly, we're going to take away a big reason why people need to go to these other services, and that is, they're basically selling content or video on demand. And so we'll be able to retain our customers if we have happy customers. But just be aware that the landscaping is going to change. There could be some government regulations that come in. We're going to watch this as we go, but for the next 2 to 3 years, I think it's going to be fairly clear sailing. So let's go out and get our customers. I talked to you a lot about personalizing TV. I don't need to go through this again. Video on demand is going to be part of the a la carte. Okay, but you're going to see a lot more people that are going to, purchase or rent content on a one-off basis or potentially on a subscription basis. But you can go out there right now and get a lot of free content through apps that don't charge. So there's the whole spectrum here of things that you use. There's a lot of apps out there that people are downloading, and then they basically pay to activate them. You're going to see a lot more of this. Everybody is getting into this, and everybody's trying to grab their piece of the pie. Just be aware of that. I talked with you about antennas. We are in a very sweet spot right now to play in this a la carte. People are going to cut the cords. They're going to get rid of their services that they're overpaying for. And so real quickly, when it comes to selling this product, cost savings is the one that grabs everybody's eyes. They hate their cable companies. They know they're being ripped off, and they want to fight back. So people are willing to cut the cord. They really need to know that you're going to help them with the transition. So you are selling yourself when you're talking about bringing on a customer on board. And next week, we're going to talk about customer management, because one of the real values of a happy customer is the referrals. We talked a lot about the value of the dollar spent. You're going to get a lot more content for less money. People like that terminology. You want to write that note down, because if you come in and tell people they're getting more for less, they're going to listen. At least you got them to the table. Mobile TV is huge. Okay, a lot of people don't talk about mobile TV, but it's foreign to a lot of people. When you mention that you can have TV on demand anywhere on their phone, all you need to do is show people that they can get EyeStream TV on their phone, and that sizzle, that it's sexy. People are going to want it. Okay, so you want to make sure that they understand what mobile TV is. Mobile, in the sense that they can take their one account to wherever they go, whether they travel for business, they have a vacation home, or they commute, they have access to TV 24/7. The future is streaming. It's technology driven, and we just need to stay ahead of it. But I'm going to conclude that the customer experience is everything. That's why we're doing the customer management next week. You really want to become an advocate. You want to become a personal customer manager of these people, because you can go out and hunt for leads if you want, and that takes time and it's expensive, or you can make satisfied customers and ask them for referrals. And I think that that's going to be the way you're going to be able to build a very large base of customers if you do this correctly. So